What's going on? It's the Rap Nerd, and with Evil Dead Rise releasing over the weekend, I figured what better time than to rank the franchise as a whole. Now to start this thing off, as usual, like I've done with all my ranking videos, this is my list. Don't take it personal. I'm not slam dunking on your list, and I mean no disrespect. This is just how I feel about the films. So please be kind in the comments. Let me also say that none of these films are bad. I feel like I've said that from almost every single ranking I've done. But genuinely, a lot of the ranking videos that I do, the franchise as a whole, I usually like all the movies in the franchise. So I'm saying that as well just to show that there's no malice in whatever choices I do choose. So with all that being said, let's get it started. So number 5, I have The Army of Darkness. I do like the concept of how we get to this film from Evil Dead 2. But the only thing with this film is I'm not a huge fan of this time period, like the medieval times. I'm not a fan of any films for real that take place back then. So for me, this gets the least watch of all of the movies. And to be real, I don't even know how many times I've seen this movie, honestly. I know I've seen it like once, and I've just never revisited this one because of that. So I might need to change that just so I can have a fresh eye to it so I can better rank it, but I'm pretty sure even if I do rewatch it, it'll still fall at the bottom of the list just because of the time period. So number 5, I have Army of Darkness. At number 4, I have Evil Dead 2. And this one, the concept of this movie was so ahead of its time. Like, this was like the first requel that I can remember that has ever been done for a horror film. You know, Ash sending himself back to the past to relive the first movie and also have a viewing of a different set of characters come to the camp that he can see, but they also see as an entity. I thought that was a really dope spin, and I feel like this movie went even more for the gusto in regards to like the comedic aspect of it, especially with Ash getting his hand taken over and he has to fight his hand. Like, this goes full on into the camp and embraces it a lot. I like the creative nature of what they went for this movie specifically because it still has the same scare factor, but again, the campiness is punched up quite a bit, and especially in regards to like the new cast and how it handled itself compared to Evil Dead, the first one. So at number 4, I have Evil Dead 2. At the number 3 spot, I have Evil Dead Rise, the most recent film that just released in theaters. I don't know if you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, please go see it because it is a great movie. Like, I love this movie, and I've even said in my review that this one might be the one that gets the most play out of all of these movies for me, because contrary to belief, I feel like this one is the most digestible to everybody. I feel like every other film in this franchise, I feel like you have to really be a horror guy or horror gal to really get into them and understand the genre to really get into them. Like, you know, like I said, Army of Darkness, the Evil Dead. These movies are like heavy hardcore horror films that you have to understand, whether it be from the campiness of the ones from the 80s or the sadistic nature of the 2013 version. I feel like that's not for the faint of heart. This one, while I think it is hardcore, it still operates like Evil Dead, but in the sense of what's acceptable from a blockbuster level in horror. I don't know if that makes sense. It sounds kind of confusing saying, if you may be hearing me say that, but I just think about any blockbuster style horror films that get released to theaters to the masses. They're all pretty digestible for the most part. If the studio's going to put them out in theaters and spend that kind of money on them, they're going to be, you know, digestible. And I feel like this one does that. I love the setting change from going to the camp to the apartment building. I feel like that keeps the essence of what Evil Dead was, but changes the location to make it something completely different as well. I think the performances in here are super strong. The actress who plays the mother, I keep saying her name, I think it's Alyssa. If that's wrong, my bad. But she did an incredible job as this Deadite. I feel like she brought something a lot different. Again, the vocal pitch and tone of her voice was altered in something that you recognize from the Evil Dead franchise, but still its own thing, because I feel like she spoke regular a lot while looking this crazy, and that just adds a whole different thing. I love the family dynamic that they have in the film. It just works out for me personally. I like, there's only a few things that I have gripes with, and none of those take away from the movie experience as a whole. And beautifully shot, a lot of good scares, great practical effects, great use of CGI, great creature design in the third act. Whew, great film all over. So at number 3, I have Evil Dead Rise. At number 2, I have the original Evil Dead by Sam Raimi. And this is still one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. Just the demonic design in here is incredible. Because I feel like what Sam did is he took a page out of the Exorcist book and for that time modernized it to make it even creepier, because you have the first Deadite who has this weird looking makeup to make her look it's just so off-putting. And unlike the little girl in The Exorcist where she's just kind of standing around and, you know, neck moving, she's not doing that much crazy movement with her body. For this Deadite, I mean, she's like popping up and doing all this other shit. It's just, ooh, it's giving me chills thinking about it, because it really frightened me the first time I saw it. I think the setup for it is perfect, having it in the cabin in the woods and creating these different reasons as to why they can't leave. And I think this was another one that was ahead of its time, but it still was recognized at its time for being so great, and I think it's only gotten stronger and stronger and stronger. I think this movie is what created the boundaries of camp and true horror, because while you have these moments that feel like slapstick comedy and the humor here, it's still equally as scary with the visual effects, like making the skin crumble off of bones, like just the things that they did with no budget, it just make it just that much more raw. And that's what I feel like this movie is. It's just raw as hell. Love the camera movement. Sam Raimi is just an orthodox genius when it comes to where he chooses to place the camera, having that view of the entity, like that in itself is one of the best aspects of the movie, putting the audience in the seat of the entity heading to its destination. That just adds a whole different like spin on it, because as the audience, you're here and you see these kids in this cabin, you're scared for them, and then it cuts back to this and you're like, oh shit, what's about to happen? And it's giving me chills right now. Whew. That's just, that type of shot just encapsulates me every time I watch it, man. Of course, Bruce Campbell being the leading man, this is the movie his career was built off of, and rightfully so, because he did an outstanding job. Just the entire concept of this, the Necronomicon. If I messed that up, you gotta excuse me. This is called the Book of the Dead, so I don't screw up any syllables. But the sound design, this is just like a up and coming filmmaker's dream come true, and I think that's why I love it too. In the same light that I see like Halloween '78, you can see the amateur filmmaker who's just like, I'm just gonna put some shit together. I'm gonna do what I can and make it the best way that I'm gonna make it the best I can with the resources I have, and cranked out a classic horror film. Like, this is one of those ones that when you talk about classic horror or you give somebody a recommendation, Evil Dead, this is the one that you give them. Aside from Halloween '78, he's just like right next to that plate of horror films that you want to introduce to somebody. So Sam Raimi single-handedly changed the game with this one. So at that, I have number 2. Now, number 1 is the Evil Dead 2013 remake. Now, this might be blasphemy to have a sequel over the original, but let me explain myself just a little bit. Personally, I can't even say that. I was going to say personally I like more serious stuff over camp, but that's not true. I can't say that because there's a slew of campy stuff that I do like. But I can say for Evil Dead, right? When I saw what Raimi did and how he embraced the camp and the horror, it's fantastically done. Masterful, right? But when this version came across and it literally dropped all of the campiness to it, it just made this franchise something else, because this is one of the most terrifying movies I have ever seen. Still to this day. Rewatching it now, it gives me chills. They take everything from Sam Raimi's original, do the same thing, but pump a little extra modernization to it. Don't make it funny at all. And then they add layers of hard truth to it, like, you know, with them all being there for a friend because she's an addict. And that to me just adds even more tension amongst the group of friends, because it's like you have part of the group that's kind of like, she's never gonna get her shit together. Why are we here? And you have the other side that really wants to help her. So it's this conflicting thing throughout the movie as the ball gets rolling and the tension rises. You know what I'm saying? Excellent makeup, excellent sound design. I mean, the way the movie opens with the reading of the Book of the Dead by this preacher, and they burn this girl who supposedly is possessed. That sets the tone, and you just you get the ball rolling. We know what this is. We know this is Evil Dead, so they don't waste any time. We start and we get here. I love. Oh man, it's just like a perfect horror movie. Almost, I would go out to say that this is the best remake ever made, period. Even better than the Texas Chainsaw remake, and I think that was pretty fucking good. But this one, bloody, sadistic, beautifully shot, horrifying, stomach curling, brutal. Like, this movie right here is what made me feel like I just sat in my seat after watching it, just thinking about what I just saw. Oh man, like one of the shots that just lives rent free in my head after I saw it. Even now, it's still scary as hell. And even if I see, like, if I'm somewhere and there happens to be like a door for the floor, I think of this shot when she's like, and you know it too, when it's halfway open and she's like this, and she's just smiling and talking, yo. And then the blood rain at the end. Evil Dead 2013 is one of the scariest movies ever put on films, like, without a doubt. I don't know if that one can be topped, honestly, because I thought Rise was great, but it didn't go past this one. This was like the pinnacle of just. I'm a horror guy, and I go to watch films to see what can scare me, and this is one that definitely did it. So, number one, Evil Dead 2013. So let me know in the comments what's your ranking. And like I said earlier, this is no disrespect to anybody's list. Be respectful in the comments, and if you like this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you already are subscribed, thank you. It helps my channel a lot. And until next time, peace. RapNerd Productions, no capping, that's word to mommy.